Hey, everybody. How y'all doing tonight?
Pretty solid.
Pretty solid. It's pretty solid.
So good.
D&D so good. Yes, yes, yes.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, yes. D&D so good.
I just physically recoiled.
Yeah.
Don't suppose you hear that a
should know
lot.
You don't
Shockingly,
like
no.
So good.
It's the fucking TikTok NPC streamers.
Oh no.
Yeah,
I don't have a TikTok
here's the
because I
thing.
hear you.
I'm going to have to be doing enough NPCs. I can't use all my energy right now.
Mm.
But on
Maybe
that
if we
note,
donate 1 rose.
I would like to make sure everybody's tuned into the music, and I shall set the scene. The music will be starting imminently.
Mhm.
It is a fine day on the island city of Atamare. Currently, the sky shines bright, the wind bellows gently, and on that wind are the sounds of festive music, crackling fire, and as long as you don't listen in too much, you can't even hear the muffled prisoners in a few rooms to the side, eagerly waiting to get sacrificed as part of the wonderful festival of becoming a wave servant. Food is being brought around, everyone is here, everybody's having a good time except the aforementioned captives. And it is a day of merriment because not only have the wave breakers recently gone out and captured a ship along with all of its bounty, but today is the day that a new wave servant is going to be indoctrinated to Umberly, and the rest of the future from that day awaits. At the moment, the three of you, being Horatio, Ettore, and Homero, are off at one of your tables, eating with a few other people who need not be named, while the two more important people on the island are currently spending some time getting ready to make their appearance. A fresh new batch of berries along with a little bit of fish, and this very nice vinaigrette has just been brought out, and it is up to you to celebrate the day however you see fit.
Always glad to have a day like this. Clear skies, blue seas, nothing wrong with the world.
Yes, nothing. I'm going to eat some berries quietly. Looking wistfully out onto the water.
The water sea, even out here in this depth of the ocean, the seas only gently whip upon the land nearby. Immediately to your north is a rather deep cliff face that goes quite far into the water, because the city of Atamare is situated on an island that is quite steep on all ends. A bit of a volcano or caldera type area. But despite all that, the lapping of the waves is gentle, probably no more than a foot at most. Excuse me.
Does it seem odd to any of you that we must drag these souls down to the deep on the same day of Caio's initiation?
I wouldn't.
It's supposed to be his day.
What? And Umberly wants offerings, as she always does. Think of it this way. You wouldn't, You wouldn't propose to a nice girl without without first offering a gift, no?
A gift normally isn't people.
Umberly ain't most girls.
As Ettore looks up after that, he sees a small batch of birds, probably seagulls, circling overhead. One of them starts flying a little bit lower, clearly trying to eye and grabbing a snack from some of the festivities out on the various tables.
I absentmindedly feed the gull.
As you hold out a piece of the fish, it eventually ends up flying down and lands on the table slightly nearby, right in front of Ettore, as it begins eating the fish from your hand.
Oh, now plenty to go around.
Ah.
Celebration after all.
After a few moments, it launches back into the sky. The rest of the birds still seem unconvinced of the generosity of the island, but that is an issue for the birds. Meanwhile, in the nearby shed, two of them, the young Caio and the croissant undertow, Isadora, are getting ready for each of them to make their appearance. They're making sure that Isadora is making sure that Caio understands all the things that are needed of him before taking the dive off the edge and making sure that he presents himself reasonably on the last day of his free birth.
I'm listening intently. I'm doing my very best to seem as if I am a good student for once. It's something I'm not really used to, and something that she knows. In the back of my head, I'm just kind of thinking about some of the faces that I've seen on the way in here, and some of the voices that I've heard, knowing that I may be going to join them very soon. My eyes are not glazed over necessarily, as I am trying ever so hard to focus on hers, but all the same, it's, you know, white knuckle, very stiff, nodding.
At the moment, she is giving you guidance on the importance of embracing it, as well as making sure to apply some of the ritualistic ink upon your upper shoulders and around your neck before the festivities truly begin.
I should ask, is she applying that to me, or am I doing it myself?
She is applying it to you.
Oh, excellent. Will it hurt?
At the moment, she takes a little bit. She turns around, grabs a few more ointments from the nearby room, and begins to ask you simply to go ahead and rehearse back to her what the order of operations is.
It's simple enough, I think. I enter the room, and I close my eyes. I give myself to the Empress of the Waves, and if she wants me to live, I live, and if she doesn't, then I don't anymore. And well, To drown is a blessing, I think. It's a sign that she's taken you to her queendom. But to live would be an honor.
Nothing is simple with the Bitch Queen, darling. But your recitation is accurate.
I inhale deeply, and I just kind of look at her and bite my lip.
For a moment, she... Oh, sorry.
How much longer, then? And I trail off.
She sort of looks down, looks up... He sort of looks up directly at you after having been watching the dies, looking straight in your eyes. Not much longer, but I'm sorry, I'm flubbing a little bit.
That is okay.
I'm losing my direction.
You need worry not, my friend. Back outside, there's a brand new course that ends up being... Ooh, thank you for that call out. Ta-da! Here we are, we have visuals. Would you look at that? Crazy how that happens from time to time. Back outside, the birds seem to have been mostly moving on by now, and instead a small pack of sea turtles has crawled up upon the shore, looking eagerly at the group as well, some of them approaching in kind. This land may be relatively barren of plants on the surface, but the life all around of the animals, the fish, the sea life, all of that is exceptionally abundant.
You know, it's said sea turtles are how the Bitch Queen taught us to make boats.
Oh. I don't know if I've heard this tale.
Well, if you look at their shells, look, there's some right there. Look at how they're guarded against all, against the outside world. Much like the hull of a ship.
Seems a little shallow to be a whole ship.
Well, changes have to be made, and also, the first boats weren't these massive affairs that to haul goods back and forth. The first boats were simple one-person canoes. Nose, bit shallow.
They could float around to carry that one person along.
Eventually, one of the other members of the Bowbreakers ends up coming right on out and joins in on the conversation, and somewhat drunkenly gives a line about, but it may not have been the biggest, but I'm darn happy it did, because it means we get to have wonderful things like this, all thanks to the bigger man. How many did she even end up getting, Mo?
Oh, far too many to count. Far too many. The Hall of Halls, this one is.
Ain't that the truth, brother? They're the best of us all. To the second best of us all. They flub over themselves a little bit.
You could do a bit worse next time. Maybe then folks like him still have their sense about him.
He leans in. Don't worry, they're just some drunken idiots. They'll get over themselves soon.
Yeah.
Well, the best among us has yet to make an appearance today.
On the theme of
What do you mean?
appearances,
I'm right here.
Ooh.
Quite. I'm gonna glance over at the house where I know Caio is currently prepping.
And just a few moments prior, we cut to within the house as each of them are finalizing their preparations to step out on the big day.
You have everything memorized? I know I already asked, but one more time, do you have everything?
I inhale deeply. I exhale slowly. I inhale deeply and I exhale slowly again. I think so.
No, you don't think so. You know so.
I bite my lip again, nod and say, yes, I know so. I'm ready.
She places her hands on her hips and pops one out. Look at me.
Lock eyes with her.
We would not put you in this place, neither I nor Umberly, if you were not capable. Are you insulting us in our judgment?
No, it's just... It's such an honor.
Of that it is. Now, I believe the time is approaching. Are you prepared for your trial in all its entirety?
I pause for a moment and set myself, and there is a newfound resolution on his face. And he looks back up at her and says, I'm ready. I'm ready for this.
Then may the bitch queen's whims be with you. Let's go.
I nod and follow her.
He moves forward and busts open what little sheltering there is of the doorway, being primarily at this point beads that obscure vision. And as she makes her visage known to the rest of the town, it erupts in cheers for the two of them as they make their way towards where most of the festivities are actually directly taking place. The food is for everyone but Caio at this time, for he is one who must maintain his wits about him. Unfortunately for him, the distraction remains.
Still a little nervous, but I'm doing better at hiding it at this point, and as I look at the excited crowd, I can't help but smile, just a small amount. I feel like a warmth in my chest, replacing that heavy sinking feeling that I've had for so long.
Most of the people end up staying a little bit away and just giving their claps and hollers and cheers, but a few people end up going forward and try to give each of the two of you a few gifts. Two people end up giving small trinkets to Isadora that are ultimately not substantial, but not insulting either. And for Caio, two of them end up giving you, one gives you a small necklace with a seashell that glows a slight blue, and the other one ends up giving you a small rock to keep in your hand that has a buoyancy about it as you hold it even in the air.
I will thank them both kindly for the gifts, put on the necklace, and grip the stone tightly in my hands.
The one who gave you the necklace, a younger lad, looks you straight in the eye and gives you a very sincere and very heartfelt, make sure you come on back, right?
I will.
No use losing you, buddy.
I will. And there's a confidence in my words when I say it.
He presses his head onto your forehead for a moment and ruffles up the back of your hair. Get him. And the two of you make your way down to the edge where the last set of tables are, which in particular is of importance for Isadora, as she knows what comes next. Do you need me to tell you again? Or
Just a reply to the specific message, because we have a long string of
okay,
messages.
sorry.
about this specifically.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just because I would have to read through the whole thing to...
The most recent one.
Oh, okay. The captives.
A few of the people in the nearby larger room end up bringing out a bunch of the captives. Most of them are simply gagged just across their mouth. They're clearly struggling and ruffling around. But the music doesn't stop. There's no somberness to this. It's simply the way that the seas go. They bring out 5 different captives. 3 of them end up being given one to each of Homero, Homero, Ettore, and Horatio. And 2 of the others end up staying with the people who brought out the captives, as each of them go up to the edge of the dockyard. Isadora brings young Caio over to the edge of the dockyard as well, and all of them end up beginning to have their feet tied together with the rocks before they're launched off the side.
Now you said there's no somberness to this. The captives, how do they feel right now?
They are struggling intently.
But it's a gift. I wonder.
Indeed. They do not understand the honor they have.
To travel on the seas, to form a contract with the Bitch Queen. I should have known. This could have been the end she'd chosen it earlier.
As for the 3 of you, Horatio, you end up having a somewhat older woman, probably around their 40s. Probably was something like the ship's maid or perhaps cook, who looks at you with pleading eyes as if to ask you not to push them off the edge. Homero, you're given one who's someone who's clearly been a grizzled sailor who's been going around a lot. Their arms are filled and hands are filled with scars and bruises and dang it, what's the abrasion on hands specifically called? Calluses? Calluses. From the various points of their journey. Ettore, you're given a somewhat younger woman, probably in around like 22, 24, who seems to have been given by the attire that they still wear, a merchant of some kind who may have been on the trip. On Isadora's command, everyone, including the young Caio, is to be pushed off into the off the cliff, down into the depths.
His suffering won't be long. When Umberly takes someone, she takes him right quick. You got that going for you, at least.
Knowing that I stand on the precipice of either the beginning of a new life or the end of my current life, my heart does skip a beat. I stand as resolutely as I can, unwilling to show fear in front of Isadora.
She has her hand firmly against your back at this moment, standing tall and proud, looking out among the waves and then back to the crowds. We give ourselves and our offerings to Umberly. And may our one return anew. As she pushes.
I allow myself to be pushed in.
And of course, I assume everyone else follows suit.
I whisper an apology before I do.
Before pushing his captive in, Homero says, "To the sea you return."
Each of the captives ends up very clearly struggling, but you each manage to overcome and overpower them, given the bindings on them, and you're able to watch as you see the heads of 6 individuals, 5 captives and 1 much more willing, sink down into the abyss, out of sight. That's no reason to stop. The festivities are still going on.
You know, I wish I could have gotten more back there. Would have been a record breaker for sure. Although, never really was fond of taking captives.
Horatio is going to walk to the edge of the cliff, and he's going to sit expectingly on the edge. Somberly but confidently. He believes that this is going to go well.
Does he believe or does he know?
He knows.
He knows it'll go well. That's wonderful.
Isadora makes their way to the edge of the cliff as well, standing next to the sitting man.
Next to who?
What is the character? Because we're not moving our character, so I can't use the hover function to check the names.
You should be able to move your character.
Yes. Hold
yeah, no,
on.
but
I'm
we
sitting
are.
here.
That's what I'm saying. Horatio,
Yes. Gotcha.
next to Horatio.
Yes.
These kinds of trials take time.
I know.
Do you not have faith in him?
Of course I have faith. I just would like to be the first face he sees when he comes out.
Care you don't fall off and become the bitch queen's next offering.
Yes, that would be a rather tragic end, wouldn't it?
Or an honorable one.
The flashback to thinking about the poor maid who he just murdered. Or an honorable one.
Although, who am I to judge? If she wants you, she'll take you herself. As she turns and walks away from the edge.
One of the cooks comes out and attempts to give you essentially a custom curated fish that's been properly prepared to your likings and just bows for it and puts it directly in front of you.
Wonderful. It could have come a little faster, but... As she sits down to eat it.
There's a gentle yes ma'am underneath their voice before they move away. Heads retained downwards.
As she dives in.
Woohoo! As for the young Caio, his point of view's a little different. As he first makes contact with the water, the first thing to note is despite it being a relatively warm day up there, waters are absolutely frigid as they should be. For a moment, it takes him as shock. As first his feet, then his torso, then ultimately his shoulders and head become enveloped by just this absolutely burling cold. The second part is that as he looks up to the last bits of light as it begins to fade away, the music quickly fades in turn until there is little sound by his ears other than the rustling of the ocean waves beside him. And the last thing he remembers at this time is a chillingly seductive and unusually gentle voice just welcoming him back with a, "Ah, there you are, dear," before his next moments of recollection are much, much later in that day, just before dusk, as he wakes up, washed on the beachside, choking up into the sand. The festivities have long since ended. The moon is slightly visible on the horizon as the sun is still beginning to set. Some of the kelp is nearby on this side of the one, which gives your hands a little bit of something to grip onto so that you can push your way out from the waves that are still halfway lapping up the underside of your body, and a bit of the salt water is still drooling out of your mouth as you cough it up, but you have lived, and you are alive. You feel yourself more resolute as a result of your actions and the choices you've made. And the confidence has befallen you, for better and for worse. You take a few moments to compose yourself and prepare to head back to the village.
For a moment, as I'm climbing my way back up the shore, I just roll on my back and look up at the stars. Inhale and exhale with a sense of inner peace, knowing that I've survived something that I had lied to myself about not being afraid of. But I'm here on the other side of it. And that means something. It means I was chosen. I saw the thrashing bodies of those captives undergoing much the same ritual as I, knowing now that they populate Umberlee's queendom. And here I stand, well, as a chosen representative. There is something to that, and I won't let myself forget it. I stand shakily, knowing that I am still soaked in her waters, and I begin making my way back to where the festivities were held, just to see.
The sand gently quakes underneath your heel as you make your way through. Plop. 1 foot through the kelp, and another. Whoosh, as it wiggles its way out under the pressure. Each footstep is not quite unbearable, but had it not been for the preparation, it probably would have been. Your body is broken, and from that, something new can be made from it, and over the course of about 15 minutes, you make your way back to the core of the village. There are very few people out and about, as it is now almost exactly the point when the sun sets. A point in time when most often ritual is being held for the last prayers before the night begins.
I run my fingers through my very wet hair, trying to become somewhat presentable before I present myself. Now I would know where to go from here.
Yeah, they are all inside the building where they are having it. It's down there.
Let me make my way very slowly. Death is not painless, and neither is birth, and I've gone through both tonight.
He has his grail.
Yeah.
Grail plus moon. As he parts his way through the curtains.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I peer through to see who I can recognize. Do I see the Puissant Undertow?
Just about everyone.
Fantastic.
And with
And
that,
first-
most people turn and smile. Isadora even stops her prayers to look at you. Sorry, I realized I interrupted you.
No, just, people look at me with a smile, and I return that smile double. I feel revitalized, though my body aches, though I'm finding it difficult to stand, though I am leaning on the wall, kind of just parting the beads and leaning there with a smile on my face, but...
Even Isadora drops her normal, confident scowl for a light smirk, seeing him walk in.
Horatio, in particular, is rather overjoyed by the situation. Normally, it's a
Beaming with
little
pride.
bit of bad etiquette to get up during the sermon, but it's allowed in certain circumstances, and he feels like this would be one that would justify it as he rushes over to be by his side, clearly seeing how Caio struggles to even keep himself standing.
Congratulations, Caio. I'm gonna run over and immediately clasp your arm in mine, like the
I'll
there was
do the
never a
same.
doubt. There was never a doubt in my mind, and I'm going to try to subtly prop him up so it looks like he's still carrying his own weight.
I will very graciously accept the offer, and then say under my breath, so that hopefully nobody else can hear me. You don't know how much I need this.
I actually couldn't even hear that.
Oh, fantastic. Essentially, you don't know how much I needed the help. Emotionally, I'm feeling resolute, I'm feeling powerful, I'm feeling guided. And you can tell that in my face, but as you hold my arm, you can tell that I am shaking.
And so, you survived your waltz with the Wave Mother, Wave Servant Caio.
I thank you, Undertow, and the Wave Mother herself, for allowing me this opportunity to serve.
Come then. We were praying before the answer to our prayers walked in. Come, let us continue.
Never has there been one more deserving.
As she gestures at her side.
And I will proudly walk to her side, sit, and join in the prayers.
With that, the townspeople are overjoyed by their new wave servant, and 2 months pass by. It is now the first Querac since he became a wave servant. Of particular note, during the Queracs, the town has a bit of an issue where it gets submerged for about 8 hours. Currently, there's a bit of inclement weather as sand rains from the sky, but nothing the city hasn't been built and managed for. Each of you are getting into your designated groups to be protected by a wave servant or the Persant Undertow herself, as a way to make sure that everyone is able to properly survive the ordeal. In this particular incident, normally Horatio is part of the Undertow's supervision, and Caio, rather than being in his group, overseen by another wave servant, is instead with Isadora as she guides him along to make sure that he can effectively protect the rest of the group during it. If he does fail, she is there to bail him out, but the intent is for him to do so on his own. You are making your preparations for it now.
Yes. So we are still on land.
Correct.
Now, for this ritual, I like to imagine that there are quite a few components that are necessary for it. Prayers made to the Wave Mother that she will allow us to survive within her domain for this time. It's not a demand. It's not transactional. It is offerings, prayers, a request, essentially, for us to be guests for a time. And that she will let us leave, rather than keeping us with her. So, it's almost intimate in a way. I'm doing my best to keep up with it.
Ettore, you are in a different pod. You are with Omero, his sister, and a few other individuals under the purview of a different wave servant.
How long do we have until the ritual, by the way?
At this point, probably about 3 hours until the island begins to sink. The sand that falls from the sky is gentle. It's not like a sandstorm. It doesn't abrase upon the eyes. It simply falls like each individual piece of sand is a individual grain in a hourglass.
Clarifying, how long was it that's passed so far? Since
It's been
the
about
first-
2.5 months, probably on the shorter side, probably like 2.33 months.
Mhm.
The other one was in mid to late high sun, and this is now like the
First
Querx.
Querac.
Okay.
That would be over 3 months.
Mm.
Red Bear, Dark Sun, Young Seed.
Oh yeah, it's early. It's early mid red bear.
Well, it hasn't even been 1 month yet. Or unless you're saying the first one was in Red Bear, I bet. Alright. Hey, Meryl, I'm gonna go check in on the new wave servant quick. Should be back in, say, half an hour.
Yep, don't worry about it.
Etior heads off to go find Isadora and Caio real quick.
I
You
believe
enter
find
their
us
group
going.
as they are beginning to lay the runes upon the ground of this almost chalk-stained floor, giving it its engravings and placing the 2 large pieces of glass upon either side that help give it a proper magical conduit for the wave servant to act upon.
Right.
Isadora and Caio are each taking hold of one of the 2 one of the 2 pieces of glass currently.
Etior offers a uh, sorry, thinking the word. Basically, he offers the proper respect to Isadora as he approaches, and says, "Oi, Madam Undertow, could I have some words with the lad real quick? 5 minutes?
You may have 5 minutes when we are finished with preparations.
Right.
This is his first time, after all.
Of course."
Okay, you may leave. As she kind of brushes, waves her hand.
Etior steps outside.
Caio and Isadora finish their preparations in about 3.5 minutes, doing it slightly faster than normal, but spending a little bit of time double checking to make sure, and to no one's surprise, it was exactly as intended.
All right then, go to him. And don't keep me waiting. To Caio, as they finish.
Oh, excellent, yes. I will nod, thank her, and then exit. And as I do so, I look to see Etior, and I call out to him. Well, certainly good to see you, I think.
Hi, good to see you too, lad. You've been doing some good work in the Wave Mother's name since the ceremony.
Only what I can. What brings you here? We are... Oh,
I just wanted to say, I know you were probably nervous back then. I know you're probably nervous now. This is... nerves are normal. Don't let them take over your life, though. You can't be nervous on the waves, or in this case, under them.
Hmm.
Listen. At some point in her service, you're gonna have to make some hard choices. Today may be one of them. I don't know. Just don't let nerves get in the way. Don't let overthinking get in the way. Make a choice you won't regret, alright?
Where is this coming from? He looks at you with a, not suspicion necessarily, but a kind of guarded confusion.
Look, you've been a good kid, and seeing you growing up into such a fine young man, it warms this old salt's heart, and I don't know. Winds are shifting lately in the world. I've been out and about
Nope, 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 nope,
gathering.
nope, nope, nope.
No,
Later,
no.
later.
I know. I
Okay,
know.
sorry.
Listen, I've been out and about. Empire's changing, world's changing. I just want you to know that you be who you need to be in Umberlee's service. All right. The world may change around you, but you don't have to.
I feel like... I am content. I feel proud of what I've accomplished, even just so far, but... I'll take your words to heart. Well...
Good.
This world is ever-changing. Umberlee herself is... Well, I think she gets bored when things are the same for too long. Perhaps the change that you speak of is a sign of her influence. Could
Maybe.
be, well, an omen perhaps, but... And you can see that his time with the Undertow has kind of changed his perspective, because ordinarily, when he was even just a little younger, his perspective on things was more on how to make things entertaining. But he's now viewing things through the lens of a... And in a way, he's not talking down to you, but sort of paraphrasing, well, religious doctrine, essentially.
I'm sure
Perhaps
even
Perhaps this change you've seen is an omen, a sign from the Wave Mother. It could be for the good. For us, at least.
Oh. I'm sure even the Undertow would tell you yourself not to look too deep into what those changes mean. Wave Mother knows she'd probably get a bit pissed off if someone started scrutinizing all the changes she makes. Anyway, I'll let you get back to it. I just wanted to drop by and make sure you're doing all right, kid.
Well, thank you. He just kind of trails off a little bit. He seems lost, but there is genuine appreciation that you came and said this to him. Well, suppose I'll be heading back then.
See you in a few hours, kid.
You certainly will. He returns to the Undertow side to see if there's anything else that needs to be done here in preparation.
Horatio would actually like to walk up to you next.
Oh.
Well,
You're a busy
Horatio's
man
in there.
today.
Horatio's in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Here we go.
Feel ready?
More or less. I feel confident. I've been practicing, you know?
Of course, I've seen it.
It's still all new to me, but the Undertow is a marvelous teacher. So many things I never knew I could know.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's an impressive perspective. She's got that.
Well, there's a lot of weight to it. a lot of experience. I hope someday I can. Well, I don't think I'd ever be an undertow, but
Well, you don't have to. You just have to be you.
I'd like to. It's so. It's a bit of a dreamy sigh. I
Caio,
never.
even the smallest of waves serves the wave servant, as she's continuing her preparations, just paying attention but not really looking.
Hmm. True. I find contentment in what I've done and what I'm doing. But there's always more. More to learn, more to do. I'd like to see it myself.
Can only imagine the wide world beyond these ramshackle houses on the shore.
I've heard some stories.
What
There's
have
quite a
you
lot
heard?
out there.
I don't hear quite. I don't hear much about where I am. Like what? What's it like out there?
You know, and you can tell that he actually hasn't heard that many stories. And he's really just kind of trying to seem like he knows things. There's an empire that stretches as far as the eye can see, and then further on still. And beyond that, lands that have never even been mapped. We sit here at the heart of Umberlee's queendom, and there are some who have never even seen it. I think that's so fascinating. Do they know her? I know she knows them. But
It's astonishing how the world can be so ignorant to such a awesome power,
I
right
think
beneath their feet.
I think they're only as ignorant as she allows them to be. I don't think she'd let a little bit of land get in her way if she wanted it. He has fully internalized the dogma.
Yeah. We're just gonna tilt his head a little bit. Do you? There's no doubt in my mind that Umberlee is one of the most fearsome beings on this planet, on this earth. But have you considered what you want out of all this? Sincerely.
Is Isidore paying a lot of attention right now, or is she otherwise occupied?
She is doing things, but you would know that she will chime in even when you think there's no way that she could be paying attention.
I think I'm happy as long as I'm helping out Amare. This is my home, and I've been given such a wonderful chance to really make a difference here. I don't think. I'd like to see what else there is, but not if it takes me from what I've been chosen for. I've got a purpose, you know? It. And he just trails off without finishing the thought. You can tell there's more to it, but he doesn't allow himself to speak it.
Yeah. Horatio's gonna glance in the Undertow's direction and just very quietly to I've been ever since you were chosen or were gifted this power. I've been thinking a little bit. I don't know, not something I'm supposed to do, but
There's a laugh.
if Umberlee is this all about change and the free flowing and, well, the cold brutality of the world. Why could your will not also be her? Why do you have to be doing her? Sorry, I don't know if I'm phrasing that correctly. Why is how do you, as someone on the outside, how do you know that you're doing what she wants?
I just kind of, not jerk, not tilt, but a nod towards, Isadora herself. And say, well, that's what the undertow is. The voice of Umberlee on Adamare. It's not always clear. She is
Neither
The
of the
bitch-
seas.
the bitch queen for a reason.
Mhm.
Her whims are almost unknowable. Being able to feel the tides and the direction of the waves. It's a skill I haven't mastered. I simply must work on faith alone.
And one that took me time as well. As she stands up and looks over.
Gulp.
Sorry. My apologies. I don't mean to intrude. I know you know better than I.
It's good you know that. I was beginning to question whether or not you'd need to meet Umberlee herself. Ask her these things yourself.
Perhaps
give-
that would be a good thing for Horatio to perhaps reflect upon when he
Mhm.
has his communion in about 2 hours with her.
Mhm.
I give Horatio a pained smile, as I somewhat expected that this might be the result of our conversation.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you one thing. I don't think I've ever felt safer on one of these than I do today.
I clap my hands together, and the grimace turns into a genuine smile. I feel ready. I feel confident. I feel blessed.
And should Umberlee grant that blessing, all shall go well?
You've taught me not to lack confidence. That she detests a weak will. I won't let myself falter here, I promise you.
Good.
I most certainly have faith that this will go well.
Just try not to get too big on your britches. She also detests those that are full of themselves.
I nod. I'll remember.
With that, for about the next hour, there's still a few people trickling in and out as they go to visit other pods to say a few words to each other. It's not common, but occasionally, every few years, there might be one person who ends up not making it throughout this entire ordeal, one person who might end up being drowned and not succeeding, but it's rare, and it tends to be the case that it's just if they were particularly undue to the will of Umberlee. But now with the last...
You're saying sounds like a skill issue.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
Now with the last hour here, the last preparations are made. The curtains have a spell placed upon them to prevent the water from seeping through the curtains. And you start to be able to see and feel as the tips of your toes and the soles of your feet begin to be flooded with salt water as the sea's brine begins to overtake the island.
Going
Looking
under.
up.
I just said going under.
I am embracing this moment, trying to internalize and externalize every lesson that the undertow has taught me. Be confident, but not overconfident. Focus yourself. Remember how this has felt in your past as a passenger. All of these thoughts and more running through my head.
At the moment, the skies are somewhat gray. It's been an overcast day. The windows you're able to peer out of, and you can start to see as the grass and the cliffs of the nearby ground begins to be shifted into piles and large swaths of sand as it sinks beneath the ocean's wave, and the entire landscape nearby begins to shift into that of one of the ocean's floors. It has raised up to be just above your ankles now. Isadora begins doing something.
She starts by looking up to the sky. This will not do. As she begins preparing components and moving her arms, chanting something, raising her hand to the sky, and slowly over the course of the next 5-10 minutes, as the water is rising, the sky darkens and thunder starts to rumble.
It starts off decently normal. The overcast starts to give a little bit of rain, but over time it gets more and more severe, and by the time it's up to around your torso, it is a full-on torrential storm. It's freezing cold for the part of you that's above the surface. The wind is quite the gale. It's absolutely blasting through, and if it weren't for the fact that you were underwater, you'd be very wet.
Isadora takes a deep breath in. This is more like it.
I am studying her motions as she goes. I don't quite understand what it is that she's done, but I believe that I understand what she's done. And I want to know how to do it myself. I know in the next few weeks I'll be practicing repeating those same motions in whatever mirror I can find, to see if I too can do whatever it is that just happened.
As the small bubble of the abodes begins to actually sink underneath the crest of the waves, the last bit that forms a pocket of air for everyone to be around just underneath shoulder height leaves everyone with a small pocket of air. Whenever the wave servant is ready, they break the glass of the small disc underneath them, and the water will finish rushing in, and they are to cast the spell to give everyone the ability to commune with Umberly. Isadora waits in anticipation.
She is looking at Caio very, I guess, anticipation-y. I don't know what the word is for.
Expectorally?
Expectantly.
Ah, okay.
Incipiently?
Oh my gosh.
Incipiently. That is the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Some damn good words. Now I will ask, because I am not sure. Do I break the glass? Do I cast the spell? Do I do both? Do I do it right now? Can I try?
In regards to...
Well, she's looking at me expectantly, but I'm not sure what I'm expected to.
Oh, you are to break the small glass disc just in front of you to allow the last bit of water to flow into the bubble now that it has completely sunk beneath the waves.
Fantastic. Do I have a hammer or anything of that nature, or do I just use my fist?
You just use your fist.
Fantastic.
Or perhaps the water around your fist, more accurately.
Oh. I give a great big inhale, I raise up my hand, and then I bring it down, not striking it with my hand, but instead with the force of the water that follows afterwards, shattering the glass.
It shatters exceptionally easily, and within a moment, all of the air at the top of the bubble quickly, in a small vortex, rushes out, down through, and then out underneath as it is replaced with water. Everyone takes their breath except for Isadora, and you see as everyone else in the abode eagerly looks at you in anticipation as they hold their breath, beginning to have their timer set up on them.
Well, I will begin casting the spell. As I mentioned before, it's not demanding to be allowed into this space, but a request, very humble, with offerings in hand. A prayer to the Bitch Queen herself. I would like to think that I go to each person in turn as I am praying, kind of walking around and gingerly touching them on the shoulder, maybe holding somebody, their hand, grabbing someone by the chin as I speak their names into the prayer as part of the casting of this spell, before I return eventually to that same initial spot before the glass that was broken.
The people of Adamara have generally a very good opportunity to be able to hold their breath and quite the capacity for doing so. As they patiently wait for you to go to each person in turn, you start to notice something after the second or third. The first two people that you attempted to bless still seem to be struggling and are holding their breath, unable to breathe through the water. It fills you with a degree of concern.
I looked at Isadora. She noticed anything?
She is looking at you.
I am continuing to cast the spell because I worry that if I stop, it might get worse, but I am looking at her with an expression of concern on my face. This should be a moment of joy and of triumph for our people to commune with our goddess, but right now I'm just kind of... There's a pit in my stomach that I don't like being in.
She just looks back.
So, how does Caio end up internalizing that pit in his stomach the moment where he's faced with this challenge? His humility of attempting to, gently assuage the bitch queen and, offering simple prayers and being very humble about it doesn't seem to be working.
Well, how does he internalize it? He thinks, this is my first time. Something has gone not well. Have I offended her in this time? Am I being too weak for her? It's so hard to judge with her. She'll never tell you what she wants. She'll make you squirm and then figure it out yourself. But Isadora doesn't seem concerned, and I know that she's an expert, so I think that she would... I mean, if there's really a problem, she would know, right?
Meanwhile, one of the other people here begins to choke slightly on the water.
Yeah. I'm going to continue what I'm saying more loudly this time. Calling to her in her home to allow us, her servants, to visit her. Not an application, but we are here. We wish to see you. We wish to speak with the Mother of the Waves, with the Bitch Queen herself, as we have sent you so many offerings, to embrace your touch in this moment.
She starts to be able to breathe the water some, the rest of them still holding their breath.
And if those who are here, who are not able to breathe, perhaps then that is Umberly deciding that they do not deserve to return to the surface. It's unclear. I'm still walking from person to person, but now there's sort of a... I'm recognizing that it's not going exactly the way that it should, and I'm just kind of like, well... Maybe this
it's
is what she
starting to
wanted
go
from
better
me.
as you go through, as you're like accepting it, as you're embracing a little bit more of that flamboyance
I mean-
and basically demanding of her rather than humbly asking. And
I mean,
each
it's-
person you go through begins to be able to breathe the water. Horatio, being ever so slightly blessed himself with a little bit of
Mhm.
Triton-esque features, is the last person to be blessed and has been holding his breath decently well this entire time.
I think it eventually comes down to being almost like a game of chicken in a way for him, where like, well, these are your people. If you don't allow them to breathe, then they will die, and that is on you. So, we'd love to see you. It would be such a pleasure. We look forward to this all year, and if we don't make it back, who will be sending you offerings? I'd love to know. Your humble servants. But I'm inwardly very relieved when it starts to do better.
As would be expected.
It's very it's
Damn,
very
they're
easy
not
to
dying.
say. It's very easy to say that you are not concerned about something. It is very difficult to go up against an immovable force that you know just kill people for less.
The ocean does not care for you. It's
She
up to
doesn't
you to
look-
make it care.
Absolutely. You have to prove to yourself that you're worth being noticed.
You got it. As each of those people begins to be able to breathe, most of them close their eyes and fall into a trance as a small blue shimmer begins to surround each of them, eventually following Horatio in kind until it is just the two of you, Isadora and Caio. Everyone else is currently unconscious in pure communion with Umberle. It is up to each of you to have a small conversation before you do follow suit.
She looks at him.
Well, I did not know she enjoyed toying with us so much. Not this way.
You should have learned from me. Why else would I be the passant under tow?
Suppose I still think of myself as, well, a wave servant. But it's like it's more of a dance almost.
Mm.
She toys with you and expects you to respond in kind. And if you don't, she becomes bored very quickly.
The bitch needs her servants, after all. What is a queen without a kingdom to rule?
In her case, still very much a queen, but a queen with less to do, I think.
Oh, much less fun.
I'll try to keep things a little more entertaining for her next time, I think.
Well, you being awake is certainly starting to bore her. And me, honestly. Go on now, I can't go until you do.
He nods and closes his eyes, and inhales and exhales and inhales and exhales as he slowly drifts off into a meditative stupor.
He feels as the brine rests itself upon his tongue, then his throat, then his lungs, and eventually his mind as he falls into the stupor. His last memories before he wakes up resurfaced is not too dissimilar to the previous time when he had his indoctrination. Oh, welcome back, dearie. Good to... And that's where it cuts off for you. There's a lot going on in there that you're not quite able to parse most of the time while you're in the waking world. And with that, you have made it back to the surface. There were no casualties during this square arc. Next, a year later, Caio leads his own group by protecting one of the bubbles. He does it completely fine. There's a single casualty in another bubble, nothing particularly unusual, and another year later, he guides again without incident. It is now 3 years since he had become since he had
Servant.
become a wave servant.
What a promotion! Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so true, so true. The skies are relatively tame for a Querark, with simply a significant amount of wind, but no otherwise particularly magical effects. And for the young Caio, something feels a little off. He's got his nervousness has returned to him. It's in the pit of his stomach that makes him feel like something's wrong, like there's something weighing him down, like he took an entire 8 spoonfuls of sand and shoveled it down, and it's weighing him down.
I am again doing my slow breathing, as that usually helps calm me down, but it is not today. Kind of looking at the sky. Now, who else is here with me in this moment?
At the moment, everyone is currently outside saying hellos / goodbyes to each other before breaking up into their individual pods. You're in particular getting familiarized with 3 of the individuals in your pod who have recently been moved to yours after another one of them died just of natural causes over the years. Another wave servant that oversaw Omero has now forced the 2 of them to break into different pods. You have Omero's sister. You have one of the older cooks in the group who does a lot of the overseeing of properly seasoning the fish. And you have one who's one of the breakers who goes out and does the hunting with you. Those are 3 of the more interesting ones who you're getting to acquaint yourself a little bit more with before the city goes under.
Fantastic. I am mingling with the crowd, especially those who... Now, it's a small community, so we all basically know everyone.
Right.
But those that I don't have that closer connection with, this is them putting their lives in my hand. So I want them to get to know me, so I am making small talk, kind of trying to get everyone to have those conversations with each other. Because this may be the last day that they live, if Umberly so chooses it. So, enjoy it. Make something out of it.
Is a little bit of the small feast before about 3 hours before the sinking, where everybody begins to go to the last of their individual groups. Omero goes forward to visit the pod to say a few words to his sister, and Isadora comes to say a few words to Caio. Horatio or Ettore can choose to do something if they would like as well.
You seem to have a different collection of people this time. Remember, your duty is the same.
Yes. Yes, I understand. I've honestly grown to enjoy this. It's always a little different, I think. Got to keep it, well... There's a flash of a smile. Keep it feeling fresh, keep it feeling novel for her, but... I enjoy these little challenges. With each new pod, new faces, new spirits to guide.
A good attitude, but I feel more sand in your stomach than on the beach.
There's a glance away. That obvious?
Not to anyone else, no. But it will be to me, and it will be to her.
I don't shake it. I've done this
Twice.
a few times.
On your own.
Mm.
There are new experiences every time these things happen, but you've danced the dance. You've fought with her before. You know how this works. There is strength in every cycle, and every wave that crashes against the sand.
Can I ask you something?
Do you
Human.
dare?
On today of all days, I must dare. Or else all will be lost, I think.
Then ask away, lest the bitch take you.
Hmm? You seem made of wrought iron. Have you ever felt this kind of fear?
I was not always the undertow. I would love to say that I have always been the woman I am now, but it is not the case. Everyone is born a babe, everyone helpless at some point before her, before Umberlee. To not fear her, to be that brazen, I would not be standing here. I have earned the right to not fear her.
So you're saying I should be afraid, at least a little.
Perhaps. Do you believe you've earned the right yet? Do you believe that she thinks you've earned the right yet? These are things that I cannot say, as knowledgeable on her as I am.
He thinks for a moment. Yes.
And if
He
you've
doesn't really
earned
expand on that. Just, yes.
and if you've earned the right not to fear her, then there is no reason for the sand to be there. Go put it back on the beach.
He nods and takes this moment to excuse himself, and he does actually go and walk out to the beach and look out into the waters that he knows he will soon be submerged under himself. And he just kind of tries to rationalize this feeling that won't go away. It's an anxiety that he wishes he owned, but he's not willing to look into right now, because the cost of doing so would be too great.
A little bit of the anticipation or perhaps the pride holds over the young Caio. It may only be the second year of him being an acting wave servant the third time of him being an independent wave servant for this, but it's his 7th year being a wave servant at all. He's been somewhat bored, as a few of the previous years he wasn't able to be the acting protector of a pod, but now, after 3 years of being absent, he's prideful and ready to show his mettle and prove once more why he's still absolutely qualified as a wave servant.
It's one of those things where he's been doing this for so long, people have come to rely on him, not for this perhaps, but in general, that he just, I've got this. Of course I, yes. Why would, of course. It would be too much of a shattering of his self-worth, really, more than anything else, to admit that he was afraid, perhaps.
Is there anything else anyone does on the surface before the pods get divvied up?
Yes. Isadora returns to Caio. Now, if the sand is gone, would you like to test your mettle?
He looks intrigued. Of course. How do you mean?
3 years ago today, the sky seemed much similar to this one. Not very conducive. Don't you agree?
Yes, I was just thinking the same thing. That may very well be where the sand is from.
You've watched you've watched my movements. You've seen how I do it. Would you care to try? As she gestures towards the sky.
I nod, and the smile on my face grows, and I say, as I'm sure you know, I've practiced this. Let me show you what I've done. And I am going to try to imitate those same gestures that I saw all those years ago.
You want to go and give me an Arcana?
An Arcana? Oh boy.
The
Well, I got a negative. Well,
That's okay.
I got a 17.
Hey,
The
you
power
managed
of
to
my
actually slightly modify the weather. It's nothing as significant as it is for her, but it goes from an overcast to a gentle rain, and it gets slightly colder.
And I will tell you, even this slight result has him beaming with pride. And I look to her and remember myself and replace that with a more stoic expression. But on the inside, I'm still very pleased.
She looks up a little bit, looks down at him, and her stoic face kind of cracks. Ah, I expected nothing to happen.
He chokes out a laugh. Umberly honors me.
Indeed. So it seems that the sand did deserve to be on the beach.
I nod.
As she raises her hand and begins making it truly what Umberly deserves.
Hmm. Now, I hate to wreck the narrative inertia. Do you mind if I step away for a second? I'll be right
Sure.
back.
Yeah, no worries.
Let's we're about to go into our next scene, so let's go ahead and take a brief intermission.
Thank you.
Hi there. Is everyone back?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, everybody. My name is Markiplier.
Hello, everybody. My name is Markiplier. What about Mr. Hero? Okay, Hero is here. Mr. Caio?
Yeah, I confirmed.
Alright, Mr. Golden, are you present? That is unfortunate.
Rube Goldberg machine.
Rube Gugstein? What would we like to do? Would we like to wait for him?
I'm good with either.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure how long an intermission is, so maybe he exits.
Normally we would have been finished by now, but we also didn't validate that he was here beforehand. He may have had to leave a little bit ago. Temporarily.
True.
Is he in the pod in question?
He is not, but he will be there immediately upon it.
Immediately after.
Yeah.
I would assume a major voice immediately after, too.
Where's Omero? Is he safe? I know his sister's here.
Alright. Hello.
Hello.
Everyone is
Hello?
here. Superb.
Everyone.
Hello, everyone.
How are you? Fine, thank you.
With that, unless someone wants to jump in, last words have been communicated before the city once again begins to sink. Is there anything anybody would like to say before the curtains end up being properly enchanted to keep most of the water out?
I would like to give Caio a knowing smile, a trusting smile, and like a reassurance, like, yeah, no, we got this. Same as last year, same as the year before. Nothing's different.
You say that because I was going to look out for Horatio to kind of.
You are
see-
quieter.
You're quiet, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
No, what I was going to say is it's funny that Horatio came to seek me out because I was going to seek him out looking for reassurance without saying that I was, just kind of hoping that by being in his proximity, he would reassure me. And he did.
And he did.
Nothing
So,
you can't handle. Your power is incredible.
Yes, of course. Having Umberly at your side, or, well, above you,
All around.
we will very soon, won't we? Haha.
Yes.
Now I'll ask, is Horatio in my pod or is he in one of the other ones?
He is in one of the other pods.
Okay.
Okay, I've been moved. Okay.
Okay, well then I will just say...
Yeah,
before
he is
parting-
still in the Persona and the Toes pod.
Right.
Oh, so I was getting my own pod. Okay. So... My last thing before we part is just another one of those bro handshakes,
Mhm.
and then saying, see you on the surface.
See you on the surface.
And with
I
that,
will leave. Yes.
he moves once more to his pod. He's not a dissimilar situation. It once again sinks underneath the sea. The edges fill up to most of the way up to the window so that everyone has a little bit of room to breathe. And for Caio, he notices that the walls, which normally shift and ebb and flow a little bit with their blue and green elements, instead, a little bit of the green kelp in a few spots looks a little bit red almost. A little bit crimson, but it's only slight and it doesn't seem like anybody else notices it.
I frown when I see it, and I just assume, perhaps, that there's some kind of an illness. Not an omen, just a normal plague that might afflict this kind of a plant. That talk with the Undertow has helped me to regain my confidence a little bit. There's still that pit in the stomach, but I am very good at pretending not to be anxious, and that is why I'm doing today here. I resume the ritual.
He smashes the glass on one of the sides, indoctrinating the rest of the water to the pod,
Mm-hmm.
and begins making his way around to each of the people to bless them with water breathing.
Yeah, yeah.
He manages to successfully bless himself, but as he goes to each of the others, he comes to quite a problem, as none of the other ones begin being able to actually properly breathe or commune.
So this is similar to what happened the first time, and remembering that, the Undertow is not with me. I have no one to rely on but myself. And so it goes again from being a playful recitation, a beseechment of the Queen to let us in. We're just here for a visit. It won't be very long. Kind of trying to appeal to like the lighthearted fun side of things. Then once I see that people are still struggling to breathe, a momentary pause in the recitation, and then more of a request. And then as I realize that people still cannot breathe, the tone shifts once again to an almost angry demanding. Again, trying to, at this point, almost beg for the people that I am with, as nothing that I have said seems to have been heard. Not any weight, not any impact. And they are looking to me, knowing that this can be somewhat of a lengthy process. They, I believe, still have faith that this is going to work.
Correct. Four of them are still looking at you with a great deal of faith. One of them, a younger woman, Amaro's sister, is looking at you with a bit of worry, and one of them, a breaker, is looking at you impatiently.
Yeah. This is all happening, and I am, at this point, basically begging for it to work. Now, the magic that I use, it is from a deity, but it is also part of my body. Becoming a wave servant is a transformative experience. And I can tell nothing is happening. I'm not feeling anything. And it is beginning to terrify me. I can breathe, but it feels like I can't, because I am gripped with this fear. And my voice begins to falter as I just look.
One of the other people in the pod completely loses consciousness and has passed out.
There is horror on my face.
Their body slightly drifts upwards, closer to the top of the pod. The nearby windows, as you start to realize just how deep underneath the water you are for this 8-hour or so long journey, starts to dim quite drastically. You realize that with about 200 feet of water above you, there's no reason the water should be getting this far down, and it starts to get very dark very quickly.
I will resume my recitation, but walk to the window to see if there's anything that I can see outside.
You see very little outside, aside from shards of pottery, kelp, and a large expanse of... Pardon? In a large expanse of sand. 2 more people have gone unconscious. Amaro's sister is coming at you very gently, and she's barely able to swim over to you and is sort of starting to claw at your knees a little bit, and the breaker is trying to make his way over to you and is looking like he's about ready to fight. The area around starts to go completely dark.
I'm speaking more quickly now, repeating my prayers, And at this point, it is, you can't really tell I'm underwater, but I am crying. And I've got my eyes closed and my face scrunched up. And I'm really just calling out, saying, Umberly, please don't abandon these people. They worship you. You are everything to them. Please don't leave them here like this. And I'm realizing as I'm doing this that I am the only person here who can breathe.
The breaker grabs onto your shoulders, and you start to feel as like one of your upper shoulders breaks as he grasps onto it so hard, and he thrashes you violently as a few words escape his mouth that you have no way of understanding, given that he drowns the last bit of air he has trying to yell them at you before everyone else in the pod is unconscious and imminently dying.
And I'm just alone here, watching all of these
It's
people.
at this point just about impossible to even see them. It is completely pitch black now, and from time to time you end up bumping into one of the corpses as they slide around.
I have to ask, this isn't the only magic I know. Can I, in this darkness, try to cast just a light cantrip to give myself some illumination here?
Go ahead and give me a Arcana. You are exceptionally in your own head right now, and it is you do not. You try repeatedly over multiple hours, again and again, trying to just create the slightest bit of moonshine upon it, and never. It is pitch black for the entire 7.5 hours that you are there.
I take this time, because they're dead within the hour, of course. Dead long before the hour is up. To try and commune myself with the bitch queen, the wave mother, asking her why I'm still alive. Why did she allow these people to die? What did I do? Is this my fault?
You close your eyes and feel like you start to drift off and expect to hear a voice, but no such thing happens. You are suddenly surprised and assailed out of your moment of concentration as it bumps once more into you. You find yourself unable to attempt to attune to her at all. You are stuck here.
Utterly alone. I can do nothing but wait.
You are left with very little options but to wait and to fester the guilt within you.
And fester it does. The sand in my stomach has become a black hole.
A few hours later, the entire city moves to resurface. Caio is perhaps slightly delirious at this, but after a few moments he starts to be able to wake up and chokes a little bit of the brine out of his throat. You can start to hear as a lot of people from the other pods are beginning to get up and break through the barrier of the beads, and the first person to enter your pod is Omer, who looks over at the group of everyone present, and in particular ends up seeing the corpse of his sister resting there on the floor nearby.
I am, at this point, sitting with my knees against my chest, with my head down, in whatever corner I could find. At this point, just fully trying to separate myself from the situation, mentally and emotionally. And so I don't even hear the beads as he walks in. I am lost in this moment.
Tap here. This. You done?
I don't even think I hear him at first. until he addresses me more specifically, and then I look at him and say, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened.
Before you can react, he is standing over you and raising you up by the head first.
Yeah,
What have you done?
I don't know. One thing you would notice is my shoulder is broken. I don't know. I don't know what happened. It started off the way it always does. Just nothing happened. I don't know how insightful you are or how good you are at reading people.
Well, fair.
Well enough. Part of your job out there is, bullshitting and interrogating people, figuring out the right way to, hey, what sort of things actually do you have on the ship? Are there any hidden compartments? How many people are there? Those sorts of things. So you can pretty decently tell when people are lying.
So in this case, it doesn't seem so much as a lie as he's not saying everything. There is guilt in his voice when if he truly did not know what happened, there wouldn't be quite so much guilt. There's not just confusion there. There is also a sense of, it's my fault somehow, I know.
You listen to me, and you listen well. I'll turn you into a wave sacrifice if you don't spill everything.
There is a very shaky exhalation of... And you've got him by the hair, basically, right?
No,
Yeah.
he's grabbing your head like a bowling ball.
Oh my... What? Oh my god, how big are you?
He's palming you like a basketball.
Yeah,
Jesus
he's big.
Christ.
He's big.
Holy shit. So he's... The look in his eyes as he's looking at you, he believes fully that you could kill him right now without even trying, and he doesn't seem to disagree with that assessment.
Yeah, that is accurate.
You know what? Maybe you should. No, he doesn't say that. What he says instead is, I thought it would be okay. It felt strange, I'll admit, but I didn't expect this to happen. Didn't make any sense. Why would she let this happen?
She?
Umberly, it's through her grace that we survived beneath the waves, and she wouldn't let any of them. Them all. I lived, but
At this point, you're starting to get infuriated. You look over, you see her corpse, and you just throw him to the side into one of the walls before walking up and approaching him again.
You're no wave servant. The only thing you're good for is a wave sacrifice.
I can't disagree.
Never has this happened. Period. We have casualties, but we don't have this.
From the entrance of the dome, you hear, Omelum, fuck off. As she waves her hand, Isadora from the door waves her hand and Omelum collapses. As she walks into the pod looking around. Every time that Isadora has looked at you in the past, it has either been neutral or with a level of interest. The sort of, you see a student slowly growing and you're happy with their progress. But as she looks down at you right now, Her eyes are disgusted, dead.
I cannot meet her gaze right now. I look to her briefly, see her withering glare, and immediately just look down to the ground, which is littered with corpses of people that I could not protect.
You? Oh, by all means, state your case.
I don't. Something felt wrong, but I didn't think. I didn't expect this. Just. He starts and stops explaining about 6 different times, and each time he only gets a few words in before it just trails off into nothing as he continues staring off into space. You can feel waves of guilt pouring off of him, but he is not on this planet right now, and he is doing his very best to try to explain himself to you and utterly failing.
She kind of pushes her hand up to remove basically the dome remaining, basically revealing to everyone else around the scene, and then turns back to him. You want to know what happened, she says loudly enough to gain the attention of others.
She grabs him by the hair and brings him up onto a small stage nearby. Amaro begins to wake up and looks over with a seething fury at the situation as it develops. The rest of the townsfolk are somewhat surprised at what's going on at first, and then seeing the corpses, a large amount of rumors and chatter begins to develop. The murmurings of the crowd.
You didn't anger or ire our Umberlee. You lost her interest and survived due to the power of the most disgusting, revolting of forces. Coincidence.
I have
As he...
no words to say.
Her interest fallen so deeply from you. How foolish I was to expect anything of you. And I call myself the Passant Undertow. She kind of drops him off of the stage and looks down at him so much that she's almost looking up. And just like my queen, I'm losing interest in you too. Take him away. Imprison him for now. After he's had a moment to reflect on the severity of losing Umberlee's attention. Anyone can do what they wish to him. Just
Imprison him? We should throw him as a sacrifice.
into the ocean to Umberlee, who has no interest in him. You dare offend her like that? If Umberlee wanted him, she would have him.
Do the deaths of our people not offend you?
Oh, they offend me greatly. You may kill him however you want, but never let him touch Umberlee again. Bury him so deep in the ground tomorrow that water
Scoffs. I'll dig it myself.
Good. But his death means nothing if he can't wallow in what the failures he's commit are, in the atrocities that come with failing Umberlee.
And wallowing he is, let me tell you. He is only barely taking in what is happening around him, reliving the last 8 hours of his life as he floated adrift many waterlogged corpses. people that he knew as friends, people that he tried to reassure and promised that everything would be fine and that he would take care. Certainly did not.
Omero grabs you again by the head and starts dragging you away.
Madam Undertow, if he is to not even touch the waters, then perhaps if he's to be buried and killed, why not drop him off on the mainland to be killed and buried, instead of on this island that so regularly meets the Wave Mother's embrace?
So long as he never touches a wave again, I don't care. I've already forgotten his name.
Romero, I'd enlist your service for this.
You don't need to enlist anything from me. I'll do it willingly.
Right. We leave tonight, then.
Kind of shaking my head. Not because I disagree, but because the situation is just so horrific. I have no other idea of how to handle it.
How does Horatio look upon his closest friend?
Deeply concerned and in incredible disbelief, not at his friend, but he's more looking around at the rest of everybody else, seeing how everyone could just he's just stunned at how callously everyone else is throwing aside Caio.
Many of them have lost family members. Omero's not the only one. The mob's in a bit of a frenzy that even the Undertow's saying, well, not too dissimilar to how Omero had his complaints, that he's not gutted on the spot, but once she actually gives her full statement, there's absolutely no objection by anyone.
Horatio, my boat needs a third.
Right. I'm going to walk next to Caio very quickly. I'm not going to leave your side.
I can't offer a smile because I don't have a smile in my heart right now. But you do get the sense that your presence is bringing him some comfort. And he does kind of look at you. There is a hollowness in his eyes when he looks at you.
As Omero drags him through mostly the dirt and grass and eventually over the brick pavement in an element that's rather unpleasant, he eventually drags him to the captive room and ties him up and throws him in one of the corners. Omero is not leaving there the entire night. He is making sure nothing is happening.
Caio, for his part, is doing more of his breathing exercises, breathing in, breathing out, trying to find peace and calm in this, reflecting on the past week, on the signs that he ignored, on the fact that he's known for a short while now that rather than growing in strength, his powers have been flickering, faltering, waning. This is not the first time that he's tried to cast something and found it simply fail to work. But he had faith. Just briefly, just long enough for this to happen. So that is all that he can think of in this moment. Should have admitted I wasn't strong enough. Should have told her when she asked.
Are you saying this out loud?
Oh no. Oh god.
Okay.
Mara literally kill him. Would not care. And Caio believes that. And he partially thinks that he might deserve that, but the fear of a painful death is a mighty strong motivator to conceal the truth.
So, Horatio, Ettore,
Yes.
the two of you begin making preparations for the ship to be able to leave, and it currently would take around until about midnight. And one of the two of you need to go ahead and coordinate with each other on what you're going to say to the person on the tow before heading off to make sure that everything is okay.
Before I do that, I'm going to look at Ettore. Why would you suggest someone who is believed to be cast aside by Umberling? Why would you recommend he go on a boat?
Want to know something, kid? Want to know a secret?
I'd love to. Anything right now.
Here. Come closer. It ain't just Umberley.
What?
I've been around a bit. And last time I went out into the Empire to actually get supplies, heard him talking about something. Magic's all fucked up and shit.
So
This
it's
ain't
not
Caio's fault.
They want to kill him.
Listen, if he gets on this boat and we take him to the mainland, he might die. If we leave him to the Undertow and the rest of the people on this island, he will die. As for what we'll tell the Undertow, well, I don't know about you, but I'm thinking maybe we might have an accident out on the water, not come back.
Are we going down with the ship, or are we staying on the mainland?
Well, whichever you'd like.
Well, I prefer not death, but I've never known life outside the village.
Look, I've only stayed this long because, well, someone need to keep an eye on you boys. But you're a good kid, Horatio. Caio was a good kid too. Then the Undertow started getting in his
Is.
head, and none of this shit makes sense. But
Ettore.
Hmm?
It was 2 years ago today, or almost more than 2 years ago today, that I pushed a woman to her death to suffer the same fate as those family.
8 years. There were
8
two
years?
there were two intervening years that he was leading the bubble as a wave servant, but there were like a few others that he wasn't.
Understood.
Yeah, sorry
Gotcha.
sorry if that was unclear.
Gotcha. It's 8 years ago, almost to the day. At Caio's ceremony, the only thing I remember more vividly than how proud I was, but that's how terrified I was that we did that to those people.
Ah.
Why was that? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
No.
Why was that all right? But when these souls were given to Umberlee with a claim by Umberlee, now it's a crime.
You want my guess? Undertow and the other wave servants are probably trying to cover because they're feeling the same way that poor Caio is. And they want to look strong right now.
Scapegoat.
They're just as scared as he is. So yeah, we're getting off this island tonight. Omero's only along, so we need a third. When I give the signal, we'll get rid of him. One last offering before we never have to look at the sea again.
All right. If you
Let's
wouldn't
go and
mind
collect him.
going to the Undertow, she scares me deeply. I'd like to make sure Caio doesn't get a knife in his belly before the night's out.
Right. I'll go let the Undertow know we're going.
Alright.
Ettore makes his way off of the gangplank to the dock, and after stepping on the dock and looking up to start making his way into town, normally the Undertow's general abode would have been on just about as far away from this dock as it possibly could. And instead you look up and you see as she is standing about 4 feet in front of you, cloaked underneath the moonlight. Nearly impossible to see despite the bright colors now that you actually start being able to pay attention to her.
She just looks at her, waiting for him to address her.
Well,
Horatio looks over the port side of the ship and he's at first wondering why Ettore is waiting, and eventually, focuses and is able to see her right there as well.
Oh dear. Just be brave for once. Be brave. I'm gonna go up. I'm actually gonna go join Ettore. Sorry, wait, who did I say? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you see the
you said-
Undertow.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make double sure. I didn't zone out for like 2 words that were crucially important. Alright. Did I notice anything odd in my bubble as it was happening?
Not
This
in
time
the
around.
slightest.
It's like this. Okay.
She still stands, waiting for either of them to address her.
he said, well, and he has just been kind of in that standoff.
You truly mean to go through with this? You were the only one as proud of him as I was.
She opens her
lost
mouth.
him.
She opens her mouth lightly, and it's clear she's thinking about what she's saying, which is rarely a thing that she's done. She's normally incredibly confident. She only ever opens her mouth to say something, generally curt, sarcastic, or, bitch. She closes her mouth, breathes out. I have come to warn you. That the near hours to which you approach the mainland shore, there will be a devastating storm. One of you won't survive, unfortunately, but most of you will reach shore with no way back.
Thank you for letting me know.
Is that a
I'll
prediction
take
or your
precautions.
doing?
And one more thing. The only one more insecure about their own lack of power than Caio is Umberly herself. Try not to speak so poorly of the bitch in her service.
Aye.
Good luck.
Many thanks, Madam Undertow.
She looks over to, Oh, I forgot names again. Hold on, I gotta go back over, to Horatio. Looks him up and down. I'm surprised you came down. You're a good friend.
He deserves better.
He takes a deep breath. Perhaps he does, perhaps he doesn't. I've made my call to the Queen.
Damn dogs.
We'll be collecting him so we can be out of everyone's hair here.
She nods. When you have him,
Oh, yeah, you go first.
when you have him, when you see him on the boat, he reaches over to around her head and breaks a small piece of coral off from her incredibly oceanic form that results of her being the undertow, and holds it forward. Give this to him. He will know what it means, and perhaps gain the strength to keep going. Or he will fall, and Umberly will take him. It's up to him now. She holds her hand out with the piece of coral in it.
Horatio, you should take this one.
I reach out my hand.
And I am off.
Hold.
They're waiting on me for prayer. Or rather, they will be.
Oh, one moment, please hold. I've grown up here. I've grown up surrounded by you and these stories. The wave servants and their power and their awesome, amazing abilities and how they keep us safe. This village is all he knew too. Please don't let him. When the time is right, please make sure you clear the name. Don't let this village remember him as a monster.
I can't promise you that. I'm sympathetic to your cause, but I am still a servant of the Bitch Queen. We will maintain the order of here. If I was so generous as to absolve him entirely, we wouldn't be in this situation to begin with. Do not mistake my gesture as kindness, just as recognition of wrongdoing, of an absence. Pray that you're not the one that dies on the ship then, Horatio. As she continues to turn to leave.
Well, if I am, I've been told it's glorious. Make sure you tell that if the other one makes it back.
She doesn't respond as she walks away.
Let's go get him.
You walk to the cell where they are being held. Homero still stands guard. All the preparations have been made. It's just a bit after midnight. Probably about 20 minutes or so.
We're here to take the bastard to task.
Then let's get it over with.
Omero picks up Caio and shucks him over his shoulder.
I do not resist, although I will point out at this point that Caio is no longer in quite the same stupor that he was hours ago.
Caio?
He's somewhat regained his sense of self. Still miserable, but more himself.
He gets carried out to the boat.
As we're going, I'd like to glance skywards. Just out of curiosity, what is the moon? What is the sky like?
Heavily concealed by great storms at this time.
An omen, he whispers to himself.
Omero is able to easily restrain him to the mast post before finishing setting up the rest of the elements. And with the three of your teamwork combined, you have set sail from Automare. You are now on the open ocean till probably around 6 in the morning or so. You have 5 hours, is the rough estimate, until you would make landfall at your destination.
At one point while we are manning the ship, I would like to have slipped a dagger into Caio's hand.
Interesting. I allow myself to take hold of it, although I am a little confused on what is happening. I'm bound with rope in the traditional way, yes?
Yeah, I would say so.
Interesting, interesting.
Horatio is taking great care to kind of give Omero as wide of a berth as possible on this ship. Which probably isn't very, it's probably like, I don't know, 6 feet.
Yeah.
It's of moderate size. It's probably like 7 feet by 15, maybe 7 by 20.
All right, so yeah, that's we're about social distancing distance at each other.
Yeah. As you're traveling through, it eventually gets a lot harder to maintain your distance as the storm begins to quickly kick up. And while that's great for moving a little faster, it's much worse as the waves begin to chop heavily over the edge and start flooding significant sections of the what little hull you have.
We should be careful. There's rough waters ahead.
The Undertow told us that everyone except the condemned would make it.
Yes.
Steady now.
I would imagine at this point, Etior is specifically using an oar to try and keep the ship on course. Actively steering it with the oar.
I don't believe anyone's told me of any intended surreptition or anything.
No,
so I'm
no.
really clueless here.
Well, this is the part for Horatio to do because Omero is having to man part of the Dore is manning the rudder. Omero is having to move to the side and is very intently bucketing water to keep it out as he can. Horatio has a bit
Horatio's-
of time that he can sneak down and, I can't say
Yeah.
whisper, but talk, and it'll act like a whisper among the thunder.
Caio,
Yes?
this is not your execution.
What? What do you mean?
We're getting you out of here. It wasn't your fault.
No, I'm sure I'm sure it was.
And I don't say that out of naivete. I say that apparently there's something going on with the magic in the world. There's something going on with all this stuff.
So it wasn't.
Ettore upstairs, he told me he'd seen it. Your power failing you was not your fault. It's not Umberly ignoring you.
I would imagine at this point, while they're actually having this conversation, and as Omero is bilging the water out, Etior is stepping away from his previous post, oar still in hand, approaching Omero as he's bilging water over the railing.
As he continues to funnel it, he has his trusty anchor by his side.
This, I don't think the Undertow herself blames you. And I'm gonna pull out the coral from my pocket. And first of all, the knife was for this. I'm gonna start cutting up the rope.
I thought. I
No.
knew what the knife was for, but
Are you far away from your mic again?
no, I'm just quiet. He's still kind of recovering from the shock. I knew what the knife was for, but in truth, I didn't think I was deserving of it. But you're telling me it's more than just me? It's... How can this be true?
I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't know. I'm gonna take out the coral. I'm gonna put it into his hand.
I look down at the coral and I am shocked.
But we're not the only ones who think that.
I quickly put it in my pocket. Then I've seen. He wouldn't believe that if you told him. Even if you had proof, he wouldn't believe you. He wants me dead, I know it.
Are you talking about the Undertow?
No, Omero.
Oh. Well, he does. We don't.
So then,
So we've made a decision.
well, she may not be able to hear me, but
I don't think it matters if she can hear you.
The mention of doesn't matter if she can hear you. You hear a very loud thunk of wood into bone.
Yeah, that'll be that.
oh.
Omero experiences a great deal of pain as it smashes behind him, and he reels for a moment before standing up and turning around.
And what the fuck do you think you're doing?
Etior is going to try and finish what he started and shove him off the boat.
You shove him a little bit, but he grabs onto his anchor and pulls himself back up. It looks like this is a job for all three of you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we can hear this happening, I'm going to lock eyes with Horatio with a bit of a panicked expression and then say, right! And then
We need help.
run over to do what we can, because I have experienced that man's strength, and I know not a single
You
one
think
of
you're
them.
gonna shove me off of a ship? I haven't been on the seas for 30 years because of that.
I would like to, if possible, depending on the way that he's standing, run up behind him with my little dagger. I'll stab him in the back, like by his kidneys.
So, Omero, you can tell that he's running up behind you.
I move my anchor to block him completely.
Oh, I'm not a combat expert, so that's gonna be quite easy for you, I think.
Yeah, you raise up the anchor, it deflects down into the pocket, and you twist the anchor, and the dagger goes flying into the ocean.
Fuck.
3 of you, huh?
Told us one
Horatio-
of us wasn't making it off this boat alive.
Just one. I'm gonna fling myself, drunken monkey style at Omero.
At this
I
point,
have no plan.
y'all can play it out however you feel like it.
Okay.
Now, I know it hasn't been working, but I would like to, with the renewed knowledge that it isn't just me being a fuck up, try and do just something minor. Just ice under
Yep.
his feet so he slips on the deck.
You end up as he goes to easily, like, he grabs the leg of Horatio as he, like, sort of dives at him, and as he's, like, sort of swinging him around and about to swing him into the stationary anchor, in which would be a exceptionally painful, if not lethal, experience, you pull a little bit of the water that has slipped in and is probably about ankle high, and you create a small, like, a small river of it temporarily, which quickly jolts to the side and causes him to lose a little bit of balance, so that he instead simply slings him into the nearby wall.
It worked!
Yeah. You got this, Kyle. Just keep doing that sort of thing. As Ethior turns the oar around and proceeds to jab the butt of it into the middle of Omero's skull.
It
He
begins
does
to,
not flinch.
yeah, it splinters on his forehead, bleeding and sending
Shit.
blood down his face.
Come now, you're not even gonna try and talk this out?
He punts Ettore down into the ground.
Would you listen if we tried? I say this as I'm,
Sighs.
like, dodging and ducking and, like, doing my best not to get murdered.
He sighs and starts leaning against the boat. There's nothing left for me on that island either.
Horatio's gonna get up for a second.
Sure.
Would you be willing to let him go? It's not his fault.
There's more to it than you think. They've told me about the mainland.
I do not want to hear you speak of all people.
And listen to me.
I'm sorry.
You do it. You do it.
It's not his fault. There's magic. Apparently, the magic is faulty all over the place, all over the mainland. It seems like it was only a matter of time before tragedy struck us. I'm sorry it struck you.
The winds and lightning of the storm grow more intense.
It didn't just strike me.
I'm sorry it struck all of you. I know, they were my friends too. I knew each and every one of their names. I'm going to list them off because I definitely did know that.
Yeah, he lists them off.
But there was no crime. Why suffer another? Why lose another when
Crime
we don't
is
have-
still a crime, intentional or not.
But it wasn't on it. There was nothing that could have been done. You think he didn't try?
I'm sure he did.
And you would see that kindness gone? The attempt to save?
I saw the fear in his eyes before the ritual even began. You can't tell me he didn't see some sort of signs. I know what the fear in people's eyes look like. I'm the one who hauls back hostages, for fuck's sake.
And how does it feel to know that because of this mishap, the people we cared about suffered the same fate as those hostages?
You think I like doing that?
Of course not. I wouldn't. I didn't.
All I want to be is a sailor, free on the seas. I do that because I must, not because I like it. Like I said, there's no reason for me to be on that island anymore. I don't believe shit about what you're talking about with the magic failing. But if what you say is true, then I damn well want to see some proof of it.
I'm gonna steal a glance at Etior.
He doesn't got anything.
Um,
All of it's
no, more
hearsay.
of a. Maybe we can find proof on the mainland. Together. The Undertow said someone had to perish, but maybe she can be wrong. Let's let her be wrong. I've at least taken enough this day.
I never liked that bitch. Bitch queen, bitch servants.
Just, I wouldn't... We are still... I'm looking around at the storm and his blasphemous words, and even though she's not listening to me, I am afraid for him.
The ship is beginning to rock more.
Right, let's
Caio, you
focus
don't
on
need to
trying
be
get
afraid.
shore first. Then we can.
Oh, I can get us to shore.
Caio, Omero. She also told us there'd be no passage back. This is fine.
The rudder
so be
begins
it.
to, it's still wailing vigorously in the storm. Marrow is able to go over and is the only person strong enough to be able to stabilize it and keep the heading straight.
Now, I don't know anywhere near as much as he does about sailing, but I've learned a little bit in my time, and I would like to try and do what little I can to help keep this thing on track and from sinking, even though we're not on good terms right now.
You help keep the sail tight by making sure that the winches are set up properly and it's cutting into the wind effectively. Trying to get out of the storm as quick as possible. Soon enough,
Caio.
though, about 2 hours away from giving your best estimation as the storm is reaching its peak, the rudder breaks and a bit of lightning strikes upon the mast.
Shit.
Fellas, I think she may have been right.
Well, we can still try.
Look,
There's no point in not trying.
You're practically dead in the water.
if any one of us has to die, Horatio, you got your whole life ahead of you. Omero, you got a new life. Caio,
Give me that
Caio.
fucking oar.
Huh?
yeah. He
You
hands
look
me
at the
one.
oar as
Caio.
it's mostly busted up and broken from the beating that it's taken upon your forehead.
It's something. Caio, you find out what the fuck is going on here, everywhere. Learn what you can, fix it if you can, live with it if you can't. Do something. If any of us has to die here, it should be me, right?
Nice. I don't think anyone has to yet. Please.
I'm not saying I'm gonna jump off.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, then don't be giving the big speeches. You're giving me a heart attack.
If you're gonna make, it's a bit hard to make any speeches when people are being thrown off the boat. I'm just letting you all know in advance if something has to happen. Better me than any of you.
Dior, you've letting me know what's going on the mainland. You've given me a renewed reason to live. I had no idea. You shouldn't give your life as well. You've already given me a new one.
Well, if we're lucky, the bitch queen's feeling charitable and she'll take the end of your old life. But we know she doesn't work like that.
The
No.
entire group of the four of you are absolutely assailed by a massive wave that comes crashing down, disorienting each of you and pushing you up against the port side of the ship. As you all wash up and bump into each other on the small railing as the ship almost capsizes.
Oh!
Is the oar still, is the paddle of the oar still intact?
It is, but it has holes in it. As it's, like, splintered.
Caio,
Yes?
I don't think fear's the answer. You were at your strongest when you owned it. Don't beg, take. We gotta get out of the storm, and I think you're, well, our best way out.
I understand what he's saying, but at this point I'm looking down at my hands. And I think to the piece of coral that is in my pocket from the undertow. I'm gonna reach in and pull it out and hold it aloft and call out to Umberly and say, we are going to survive this storm that you try to shatter our confidence and our bravery, to make us fall to our knees and beg you to forgive us when we have done nothing wrong. I look into the eye of your storm and I challenge you to break this spirit. Part these waves and let us pass out of your sea, out of your queendom, and into the land. I have seen enough of you on this day. I have seen your violence and your greed, and I would leave your sight. And I'm trying to do something to channel these waters into calmness. But we'll see.
The wind starts to billow against what is now the broken mast, and the ship somehow begins to move a little. It begins to move with a fair bit of force, actually, as it begins to be supernaturally propelled. It's almost as if there was nothing wrong with the magic at all.
What the fuck?
One of you find me something I can patch the paddle with.
I'm gonna go grab a splinter off the rudder that's currently broken.
You know what? Etior's gonna grab one of the broken, splintered crossbeams from the mast.
That'll do it. You managed to jury-rig something together, being the industrious apothecary you are.
I don't think being an apothecary gives me woodworking skills to make
Sure
a
it
new
does.
oar.
It does here.
Ah,
You did a lot of
I
sailing.
see.
We're doing it
I
here.
see.
The important part was industrious.
I see. I see.
He grabs it and looks it over for 1 second and just scoffs. I've had to use worse.
Go ahead and narrate what happens as y'all continue to struggle through.
I will continue speaking to the Queen, not as a superior necessarily, but as an equal. essentially demanding passage through this space, safe passage for my companions here, speaking not in a negative way, of course. Confidence that we will make it through. With a period at the end of the sentence. There is no room here. Allow my sheer force of will attempting to shepherd this boat through these dangerous waters. I don't know what the rest of you are doing, but you can say what you're doing.
Horatio is bailing out water to the best of his ability. He is not a very strong lad.
Ethior is doing the same thing at the moment, since the other roles are being taken.
And Omero is putting all of his strength into controlling the ship.
And doing a good job at it. Might I tell? The storm continues well into the morning. Given a little bit of light is starting to peek through small parts of the storm, you estimate it's probably sometime around 8 or 9. You're about 3 hours behind schedule, and you're nowhere near where you wanted to be. But you're washing up on a black and gray, very rubble-filled beach, filled with large rocks that completely shred the ship as it lands. But you are on the edge of land. Looking around, it looks like this is part of the mainland. You hope it's a bit of a peninsula, but if it's not, that's a problem for later. What's important is that you've landed and you need shelter before you freeze to death.
Sorry.
So the whole of the boat is like totaled, right?
Yeah, the front part of it is. You could probably you could probably
how
take
large
it.
is the boat?
It's like 10 or like 6 or 7 feet by 20 feet.
Okay, so I could probably like flip it over.
Yeah, you could flip it over and drag it, or vice versa.
Yeah, once everyone is out of the boat, Ormero just grabs the front of it, pulls it onto solid land, and just flips it over.
Yep.
And props it so that we can climb under it.
With that, you'll have a bit of time as you attempt to start a super duper small fire, but ultimately fail to do so in the center of it, where it's a little shielded from the elements, and you have about 4 hours to talk to each other before the storm fades.
Here, let me grab the sailcloth. I might be able to do some to break the wind a little bit. And Ethior kind of drapes the sailcloth over the side of the boat to cradle a flap to break the wind.
I'm doing my best to keep a small amount of distance between myself and Amaro. I did just try to stab him not that long ago. I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. We worked together in that little survival instance, but I'm still feeling tension between us. I will say to the group at large, it's quite a feat. If you would have survived that storm, here we all are. In spite of the undertones, premonition of death.
Who knows, maybe the death was a metaphorical one.
So she can be wrong. That's good to know.
Sign that even her powers are failing. I don't know whether that makes me happy. Adamari relies on her for quite a lot, and I just wonder what's going to happen in the future if this gets worse.
Well, all the more reason for you to figure out what's going on here, huh?
I've never been far from home. Where are
None
we?
of us have been.
That's here.
Edior tries to look around, see if there's any nearby landmarks that he can use to figure out where he is, since he's been on the mainland a little bit.
As the storm starts to clear up, you get a little bit of visibility, and you can eventually identify a particularly abnormally shaped mountain. It's got a bit of a hook shape in the side of it, where there's a cutout from a cliff that collapsed in, and you know that you are in fact on the mainland. Somewhat problematically, once the storm actually clears out, and the group takes a few steps out onto the current gravel beach, you see as, well, each of you four have in fact survived. There's a corpse that has washed up on the shore.
Just a corpse? No
Yep.
one-
At the moment, it is face down with clothes on its back. It looks not dissimilar from that of Omero's, but Omero is still standing there.
Uh,
It's very practical fisherman's garb.
I will go over to inspect the corpse.
Yeah. Edior's gonna turn the body over.
I assumed that when Caio said that he
okay.
went to investigate it, that he'd probably be the one to do it.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
You go
Either
over,
way.
you reach down onto its shoulder,
Mhm.
and begin to twist it over. And as you do, its arm moves and grabs you by your ankle.
Oh,
You look at it and you see through its hollow eyes as it's the other one of the bone breakers that was left behind when the bubble flooded. The one that was in your group. Is
the
it-
one that broke my fucking shoulder.
Yes, as it continues to squeeze and with a great, tremendous amount of strength begins to break your ankle before Omero moves over and impales it with the anchor,
What-
killing
what-
it.
What? Have I ever heard of any such a thing?
You have not.
I look bewildered at the rest of the group.
It is the Querix after all. If something very strange is to happen, it's around now.
That was one of the men I was meant to shepherd.
Maybe he stowed away and all this time is looking for the chance to get back at you.
I did. I know he did. He. I'm. Sorry, are you having trouble hearing me? I feel like I'm kind of.
Only a little bit.
You're cutting out a little bit, but not
Yeah,
much.
okay. Is this better? Can you hear me now?
It seems about the
Same
same, but
level.
it could be better. It didn't have it.
Mhm.
But you're also pretty good most of the time, so don't take that as it's not better.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
Each of you
Well, anyway.
start taking a few moments to start drawing out a few of your things that you were able to bring. Most of your supplies survived the journey. You begin
that's-
to... Sorry.
No, just. Well, that's something at least. Trying to keep an optimistic view on things, even though my ankle is aching and my shoulder is aching. It could be worse, right?
Yep. There, you know that it's about a day to the nearest town, and you should be able to get there without problem. So after you'll gather up your things and get ready to go out, Caio, you turn around as you hear something else happening on the beach. As despite having just recently had its head caved in a few hours ago, the head has reassembled itself on the creature and it begins to stand up, moving towards you.
I don't have a. There's not a weapon anywhere around me, right?
No, but
anyone here
Amero
have-
still has his massive anchor that he uses.
I can't. I couldn't even lift that thing, I guarantee it. Okay. I will ask Amaro to help me with this creature again.
For
Didn't we
dealing a
talk
blow again, he looks solemnly at the what is left of the sailor that he recalls being on journeys with once.
Yeah. And as he goes through and cracks open on its shoulder and chest area with a pretty heavy blow, unlike the first time, it actually remains pursuing Caio after that first strike, and it takes a second one to go down. He's getting tougher and reinforcing himself as he goes before he falls
Now,
down.
after he falls this time, I think for a moment, and I walk over. In my time as a wave servant, was I ever taught, I mean, it's been years, the rituals for laying somebody to rest?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to, I know I don't have the materials that I normally would. I know this isn't the exact context of how I would normally do that, but I would like to start performing that ritual to send him to the waves.
As you
I
do
know-
so, the response you end up essentially getting is one where sometimes people can't move on if something hasn't been obtained. If their soul is still restless, they can't be sent.
Mhm.
And as you peer a little bit deeper, it is perhaps of only a very slight surprise that the only circumstance in which his soul will be released is one where you are dead.
I had kind of anticipated that, to be honest. It makes sense. But I'm not interested in dying. And I certainly don't want to deal with this any longer. Is there rope or anything around that I can bind his limbs with before he comes back?
Yeah, there's bits of rope from the winches for the mast that are still around. Not much, but there's some.
Yeah, I would like to try to bind his limbs.
You do
that
so.
At least
Do
it is
y'all mind if I
like-
cut forward a little bit?
No, not at
Yeah.
all.
Alright,
Go
do
for
y'all
it.
have any more roleplay you want to do for this or immediately adjacent scenes?
I just have one.
Go for it.
I've heard stories of those things out at sea.
What are they?
Whispers of the dead that don't ever stop pursuit of their targets.
How do you get rid of something like that?
That I don't know. I'm only a sailor after all. We just tell stories.
Make it into town before it catches back up to us. Maybe we can learn a bit more from them.
Good a plan as any.
The party makes their way to town, reacquaints themselves. For a lot of you, it's pretty surprising and new, being the first time you've really made proper acquaintances at a town that's not the big city. Before continuing your way down along the coast of the Cerulean Sea, making very sure to avoid taking boats pretty much whenever possible. After a good few times, eventually it's one night not too dissimilar to any others, when you're awoken by a startling scream as Omero's been heavily wounded by the creature that is continuing to pursue Caio. Each of you fight for a fair bit, and Caio ends up being the only one not wounded, and through a series of events that has left the other three of them not dead, but fairly injured. The only real solution is to help bring them to a nearby Vitalis camp and leave them there in their long-term care. you have a big talk about it. That if you want to, you can talk about it, but ultimately the choice is that Caio has to keep going, or else,
Or else the Revenant will catch up.
Well, it's hard to part ways with the people who brought me this far, but I recognize that I have no choice. It's difficult to say goodbye, especially to Horatio, who I've been closest to. Etior, that really gave me the second chance, and Amaro, who listened when he... I take a brief moment to say goodbye to them each in turn. I give Horatio a hug before I leave.
Smiley face pufferfish.
Choice but to leave. Go further west. Hope this thing stops following me eventually, but... In a way, it feels like a manifestation of my own guilt over that day. And so I don't feel that it should not be following me. I don't say this to anybody, but internally, it feels correct that something like this would follow me. Because those memories will.
And what does the rest of the group do before Caio heads off? Is there recovering in their cots?
Kyle, I don't care what you have to do to find out what all's behind this, but whether you do or don't, live. All right?
I will. You can count on it.
You damn well better.
You've given me a new life. I've got to make use of it, right? Otherwise, it's an insult.
Remember, Caio, we, despite everything, we did manage to save somebody.
Yeah.
That was you. Without you, we couldn't have done it.
Thank you. It means a lot to me.
Trying to keep that up. Trying to keep that, You might serve umbrally, but that's no reason to let everyone around you drown, eh?
You're right. I'll remember that.
It's your power. You take it. You use it how you want to.
Well, where I'm headed, I'll have plenty of chances to. That's one good thing in all this, right?
Mm-hmm. Gonna miss you, friend.
I'll miss you as well. But we'll see each other again. Someday.
Yeah. Yes, we will. When we do, why don't you tell me some real stories, eh?
Hey. I'll spend my time making them for you. That way I can make sure they're true.
Fantastic. I can't wait.
And with a promise, wait, sorry, Amaro, did you want to do one?
Only if Cario comes up to him.
I would, yeah, because you, at least from my perspective, allowed me to try to prove to you that I wasn't who you thought I was. And that is very difficult. And it has earned my respect, absolutely. but with a gracious birth. It is with a kind of humility that I go to you, knowing that you blame me for the death of your sister, but I would still like to say my goodbye. I feel like you deserve that much, rather than fleeing in the night.
You're not getting a warm goodbye from me.
I wouldn't expect one.
Don't let me see you again.
Why not? If you do see me, it'll be as someone that you maybe won't like, but someone that you'll have to respect. I owe you that much. Let me live. You've given me a new chance here. You might regret it now, but I'd like to prove that you shouldn't.
He doesn't respond and just closes his eyes.
It's about as much as I would have expected.
With a promise, a threat, some advice, and a pursuer, Caio wanders his way across the continent, generally west. Sometimes he's going a little bit more south along the Cerulean Sea as it starts to curve away. He visits Tarnos Pem. He goes down into the slightest bit of the Volstrom territories for a bit, spends a long time wandering through Soju for a few years, and over the course of his lifetime, eventually makes himself to somewhere around Sojupem when he starts to hear about this whole big adventure going on deep into the Woodlands, somewhere much farther than he ever thought he could, and with most of his area that he's traveled, not even knowing if it's still pursuing him or not, running out, he has his choice, and he might as well start making his way over. And with that, he embarks to find his way to the Shining City and be one of the cast.
A history to be claimed.
Woohoo! Happy, happy, happy.
Yeah,
Happy,
except for all the
happy,
deaths.
happy.
Mm-hmm.
No, happy, happy. They were cultists. This is D&D. Cultists don't have rights.
And besides
I
that,
don't know.
they went to
Except for the people
Umberlee's
who
house.
weren't the
It's
cultists who also
great.
died.
They also went to Umberlee's house. It's great.
They had a
Yeah, that's a fair
party.
point.
Come to Umberlee's
Umberlee-
house. We have pain, dying, waterboarding,
Fish.
dying,
And pranks. Don't
and
forget.
pranks. So true, bestie.
And lots of fish.
Who doesn't love fish?
How do you
But you're
spell
allergic?
fish without? What's a fish without an eye?
Blind.
She grabs a nearby fish and blinds the fish.
Absolutely. That's one of her favorite jokes. Ah, what a gag.
So long and thanks for all the fish. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Good reference.
So true.
Anyway,
I thought it would be some.
before we head off, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for participating today. I think it went rather well. I think it was a little slow on Act 2, but I think 1 was good, and I think 3 was excellent.
Thank you all for making my horrible trauma so vivid and, tactile.
Also, even though it took a little bit to get into character, I think everybody managed to do so, and I think it was very, like you said, vivid by the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Good
It's a
job
good thing I
getting in
don't have-
character.
Real drowning trauma. Damn.
Oh yeah, that should have been a warning.
Oh, fuck, you're right.
Was it? I thought I asked, and everybody said no issues on drowning.
I mean, everyone here.
Oh,
Right,
well,
but like
Mm,
pre-stream. Yeah.
stinky.
I mean, yeah, fair. I guess I could consider that.
Like drowning, they can just close the stream.
It's like breathing air. Just do it.
Except not.
Yeah,
What?
it's like breathing air, except you're breathing water and failing.
Well, stop doing
Yeah.
it then. Come on, it's so easy.
Just stop breathing, Lamau.
Stop inhaling the water. It doesn't even need to go in your lungs. It's not helping you stop.
Just think about it, idiot. Anyway,
Oh,
goodbye
oh,
to all the
what-
friends. Oh,
Hmm?
were you saying hold up?
No, no.
Okay. Goodbye to all the friends who managed to tune in for it live. I see that we had a little bit more of a peak now. And hello and goodbye also to all the people who are seeing this on YouTube later, sometime in the nebulous future.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, we get to see more of Caio's young adventure for more than like 3 episodes, and he doesn't just explode of cringe. But
Oh no.
a man who's changed a lot over the years, being both resolutely confident as well as a devout, independent man of choice with, I can't say low regard of others, but with experiences that have taught him to have to prioritize what you prioritize, and being ever so consistently fleeing further to the west. We'll see a bit more of him not 2 weeks from now, but 4, just about a month from now, when we have our very first session of our Hectorum Season 2. 2 weeks from now, we have our final Prelude session, and that's all we got coming up. Anybody want to say goodbyes?
Auf Wiedersehen.
Wiedersehen!